Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Thunder, and today we're gonna be doing that was not really planned, but that one of you asked, and I totally forgot about it to be honest. And that's gonna be the fairness system. I did not plan on making this, and I gave it some thought, then I just put it aside and forgot about it. So we're gonna be doing that now. What are we gonna be doing exactly? It's gonna be pretty simple. There's gonna be an object that we can put stuff in and it will melt it. We can put iron and that kind of stuff. And that way we're gonna get our materials. So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a spawner of these rocks. So let me go ahead and go to, I believe what I've got here is metal and stone. Yep. So I'm gonna go to my prefabs. I'm going to go over to world, and I'm gonna make a prefab of this. So I'm going to do a rename, and then I'm just gonna name it gather rock. Alright, just drag it into here, and then I'm gonna spawn them through the respawn spawner. Also, another use I did not tell you about, guys, for this system, this zone spawner, it's a pretty cool one. So animals, that's how I spawn animals in my game. So I'm gonna do 2 copies of this. I'm gonna move this one over here. Let's delete this too, and I'm gonna create an empty and call it spawners. Now what I'm doing right now, you guys don't really have to do it, it's up to you, but I recommend you do it. So this one right here is my rock spawner. Over here I'm gonna spawn my animals. So this is gonna be red. Let's make it red. There we go. And prefab, storage slots, bullet holes, bear AI. I'm gonna make a prefab of my bear AI, and I'm gonna delete it from here. Now this one, I'm just gonna change the tree for the bear, and I'm gonna lower the amount of entities to like 5, and I'm gonna move it a little bit towards here so it's not bothering me. Then this one, I'm gonna make it orange like that, and this is gonna be the rocks. So I'm just gonna drag my, okay, it's in world. I'm just gonna drag my gather rock over to here, and there we go. So let's go ahead and make sure that it works. Alright, just give it a second. Well, it seems like I'm gonna have to pause. Alright, so it's loaded. You can see I've got my rocks, got my trees, got all of that. So I'm just gonna pick up my stuff, make sure the bears don't kill me. And there we go. Let me just put this right here and the hatchet right here. So I'm just gonna gather some of this. So stone and ore, that works. Then let's see if the bears actually got spawned. Yep, right there, they are. So as you can see, this is making already our world. Okay, sorry guys, I had to pause the video. So right where the bears are, we're gonna fix that also in this tutorial. But right where the bears are, we're going to be adding some trees. Now you can see if we kill our bears, we can just gather from them. We're gonna fix the collider issue, but we can gather from them just, okay, yeah, because I've got the metal ore data set to it. So let's just go ahead and unpause our game. And what I'm gonna do is the bears, I'm gonna duplicate this spawner. I'm gonna make it again green. I don't know why it's that kind of green. It should be much lighter, but I guess. Oh, I guess I'm just gonna leave it there. Then I'm gonna assign my trees to it and make the max entities be 20. So let's go ahead and hit play. And let's just see how that looks. So as you can see, our world is looking way much better. We got bears, and the very I recommend you just get you get other models like stacks, you get boars, chickens, all of that, and you're gonna have a world that feels extremely alive. Alright, like it's gonna be way too alive for for even you like realizing that it could be done. So it just depends, like you can have the best tools, but it doesn't really matter the tools you have, but how you use them. Right now, you got pretty good tools, pretty good foundation. You can expand upon everything that you got so far and make a great survival game. Now, let's go ahead and get started with the furnace now that we have off the rocks and everything. But first, I'm gonna do one thing, which is gonna be, let's go to assets, let's go to items. Now, here we got cooked meat, which we can eat and everything, but we're gonna need raw meat. Also, I realized the cooked meat doesn't have an ID, so I'm gonna assign 1 to it. So this is 11, this would be 12, and now I'm gonna duplicate it. So Control D for duplicating. Alright, let's just wait for it. Alright, so I've got it right here. Cooked meat. So I'm gonna rename it to raw meat. And same thing, I'm just gonna change the icons of it. Just for the moment, I'm just gonna give it the Unity logo. Then I'll get the raw meat icon. So it's gonna be raw meat. Raw meat. It is not safe for consumption. There we go. Now that we've got this is said to be a consumable, right? Okay. There's something going on because, okay, down here. So the health change, I'm gonna do it minus 20. So it's gonna take 20 health. It's just gonna up your hunger like by 7 and your thirst by 2. Just in case of an emergency, you should have it pretty much. Alright, now that's done, I'm gonna make my bears actually have like give you meat instead of metal ore. So let's go to gathering, wood, metal ore, meat, and let's just choose raw meat. And I'm gonna make them give you 1. So now we just have to find our bear prefab right here, and over here we're gonna just change it to meat. So there we go, that's done. Now I'm not going to be using a furnace model, but I will be leaving one down in the description, so don't worry about it. Just take the model and put it into your game and use it instead of the box that I'm gonna use. Also, just for now, I'm gonna make my spawners go away just so I don't see them on screen. Now let's go ahead and create that. So I'm gonna create a 3D object cube, and this is gonna be my furnace. Again, just if you guys have a model already, use it. Otherwise, just you can then load the one in the description. It's not that big of a deal. I'm also gonna go ahead and make a material, so I'm just gonna use this one, and I'm just gonna make it like brownish, so like that. So that's gonna be my furnace for now. And let's get into the actual coding. So we got our box right here, our collider and everything. So let's go ahead and go to scripts. In scripts, we're going to go ahead and, you know what? We're gonna use our storage script for this. So we're gonna link it with our storage script. But first, we're going to have to go ahead and in storage, right click, create C# script, and we're gonna call it furnace. Just right on this one, add your, okay, there we go. Well, I'm just gonna wait for this to load. Alright, it's loaded. Now, over here, we're gonna add to our furnace the furnace script and the storage script. Now, there's a reason why we're doing this, so don't worry about it. So, storage, non-storage. We're gonna find our storage slot prefab, which should be on our prefabs folder, and storage slot right here. We're gonna add it to our prefab right here. Now, let's go ahead and make some changes to our storage slot, to our storage script, sorry. So we are going to make a public bool right below opened, and it's going to be called generate slots. Now, what this is going to allow us, we're going to set this to true by default. What this is going basically to allow us is going to be that we can actually have our game with every single slot. Actually, you know what? Forget about it. We're going to do it in a different way. So let's just open up our furnace script. We don't need to make any changes to our storage script so far. So we're going to do furnace, edit script. And on start, we're going to want to do a couple of things. So we're going to do start if get component, not furnace, storage is not equals null. Then we're going to assign that to a variable that we'll create in a moment. Now, otherwise, we're going to do debug.log error. And we're gonna do furnace, and then we're going to say the furnace does not have a storage script attached to it. Now, over here we're going to go back up, and we're going to create 4 variables. So we're gonna actually 5, sorry. Okay, public storage. Then we're gonna do 2 spaces, and then we're going to do hide on inspector. We're gonna do public storage slot, and this is gonna be equals fuel slot. Then we're gonna do another hiding inspector, public storage, storage slot, and we're gonna name this smelting slot. Then we're going to do hiding inspector, and we're gonna do public storage slot outcome slot. It's gonna be pretty simple. We're gonna make it for 3 specific spaces. I recommend that's all you do, as I'm just leaving space for you guys to iterate into it and improve it if you guys want to, but we're going to be making a simple one for now. So now that we've got these 4 variables, we're just going to need one more. So it's going to be space, and we're going to do a public bool is on. Then we're going to need public game object be effect. Basically what that game object is going to be our fire, so we can actually create our fire. Now back to start, we're going to do storage equals get component storage. There we go. So let's save that. Now we're going to go into update. But first we're going to need to make some changes to our item scripts. So let's go back to Unity. And over here, we're gonna look up our item.so. We're gonna do a couple of changes to it. So we're gonna add a new section, and we're gonna call it header. And this is going to be fuel / smelting. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to market a public bool is fuel. So only the components that are fuel can actually be processed and turn the furnace on. Now the next is going to be public item.so outcome. And that's going to be that simple. That's pretty much all we have to do. Now, we are not going to make a specific type for this because we're pretty much going to be able to use any of these types. Like, if you want to smelt a weapon and have it like burn and give you processed metal, go for it. It's up to you. It's not really that big of a deal. It's actually a pretty good feature in my opinion. Now, back to furnace. We're going to go ahead and code the actual system that finds our slots, sets them, timers, and that kind of stuff. But actually, we're going to need one more variable on the item.so. So let's go back to it, and over here we're going to make a public float process time. Now this is going to be applied both to, I'm just going to make it 3 seconds by default. This is going to be used for both the fuel and the outcome, so keep that in mind. So let's go to furnace. Now we need to find our slots, so we're going to do if fuel slot equals null. So I'm just gonna make a region over here. So region, we do number sign region, and I'm gonna name it find slots. And at the end we are going to do hashtag, so number sign and region. This is a pretty good way to keep your code organized, because now what you can do is go here and close it. So that's pretty useful. So if fuel slot equals null, then we're going to run a for int I equals 0, and if I is less than storage dot slots, then dot length, then I plus plus. Then we're going to say if storage dot slots I dot data is not equals null, then down here we're going to do if storage dot slots I dot data dot is fuel, and we're going to assign it. So we're going to do if, no, not if, sorry, we're going to do fuel slot equals storage dot slots I, and then we're just going to break the for. So finished there. Now it's going to be for the fuel. We're pretty much going to copy this and do it 2 more times. So let's go ahead, copy it. I'm going to close it. Then I'm going to do it down here and down here. But again, this one is going to be for the outcome slot. Now, smelting slot. So for the smelting slot, what we're going to be doing is we're here first change this to smelting slot, and then instead of is fuel, we're going to be using outcome is not equals null. So if the outcome is not null, then we can actually smelt it. Now, one thing to keep in mind, don't mark your wood as, don't put an outcome to your wood, because that's going to create an issue. So just keep that in mind. Any fuel item cannot have an outcome. So now that this is done, we're going to do the same thing but for the outcome slot. But instead of that, we're going to delete this last if, and we're going to check if it equals null. And if it does, so if data equals null, basically meaning that it's empty, we're going to do outcome slot equals actually no, we're going to do something different. So we're not going to need the outcome slot, forget about it. So delete that and go back up here and delete your outcome slot variable, because we're not going to need it, we only need those two. And you'll see why in a moment. Now, over here, we're going to say has if it's not has set fuel timer. We're going to create that into a moment, don't worry. We're going to basically say, let's create the variables first. So go over here and we're going to make 4 private floats. So first one's going to be private float current fuel timer. Then we're going to do private float fuel timer. And then we're going to do 2 more. So private float smelt timer. And another private float current smelt timer. Current smelt timer. Now we got those set. We're going to need to do, so let's delete this, we're not going to need it. And over here where we set our fuel slot, what we're going to be doing is fuel timer equals fuel slot dot data dot process time, and there we go. And then we're going to set current fuel timer equals 0. Now we're going to do the same thing but for the smelting timer. So we're going to do current smelt timer equals 0 and not current smelting timer smelt timer equals smelting slot dot data dot process time. Now the process time is going to be used for both if it's of a type fuel or is it of a type smeltable. So basically if it has an outcome, it's going to use it as the outcome process time. If it has fuel, then it's going to be used as the fuel process time. But it can be both, keep that one in mind, otherwise you're just going to bug it. Now we have this set, we're going to add one last check. And we're going to do if fuel slot equals null, or if fuel slot equals null, we're going to turn it off. So we're going to make 2 public voids. One's going to be turn on, the other one is going to be turn off. Now we're going, if the fuel slot equals null at any time, we are going to basically say turn off. So after this we're going to do turn off. Now, otherwise, so we're gonna do an else. If the fuel slot is not equals to null, but fuel slot dot data equals null equals dot data equals null, then we're gonna also turn it off. So we need if dot data equals null, we're gonna turn off. Now, when we turn it off, what's gonna happen is it's basically just going to do is on equals false, and over here it's going to do beffect dot set active false. Now on turn on, it's pretty much gonna be the same thing, so it's gonna be is on equals true and beffect dot set active true. There we go. Now we're gonna need to do a couple more things, but we're almost like halfway. So let's go ahead and actually do the smelting process. So this is just finding the slots, but for the finding slot, we're gonna need to do one more thing. So if is on, then we're going to do this whole thing. Only if it's on. So that's pretty much it. Now we're gonna do one more thing. So we're gonna do hashtag region, and we're gonna call it smelt. Then we're gonna do hashtag region and region, and region. There we go. Now first, let's go to our storage system, and we're gonna add a new function, which is going to be add item. So we're gonna do public void add item. We're gonna pass it a inventory, a item.so data, and we're gonna do a dash just so it's not ambiguous with our actual data of this slot. Same thing with the stack. We're gonna do float stack dash, and we're just gonna keep it there. Now let's go to our furnace, and what we're going to be doing is if is on, then we're going to do if current fuel timer is greater than or equals is less than fuel timer, then current fuel timer plus equals time dot delta time. Else, we're basically going to say current fuel timer equals 0, and we're going to smelt. So what's going to happen is, first of all, we're going to check if smelting slot dot data smelting slot is not equals null, and then we're going to check that it actually has something left in it. So if smelting slot dot data is not equals null, so if it's not empty basically, then inside here we're actually going to do the whole coding part. But first, let's go back here, and we're gonna do fuel slot dot stack size minus minus. So we're gonna take 1 from it. Then we're going to actually go ahead and check. Actually, no, we don't need this part. All we have to do is take 1 from it. That's it. So that's pretty much what we gotta do for the fuel. So I'm just gonna mark this as fuel. Then we're gonna do the smelting one. So smelting. It's gonna be a pretty similar one. The only difference is gonna be that we're actually going to add the item to our storage, which we're gonna code that in a moment, and then it's pretty much doing our UI and we're all good. It's pretty simple, to be honest. Actually, no, we don't need to do our UI. Like, we're using already storage UI, so it's not that big of a deal. All we have to do is add a button for turning it on and off, and that's it. So let's go ahead and code our smelting. So we're gonna do if smelting slot is not equals to null. That's the first one. Then over here, what we're going to be doing is, actually, let's go back to this one, to this up here, a find slot. Okay, we're turning it off, so we're good. If smelting slot is not equals to null, and if smelting slot dot data is not equals null, okay, null. So if it's not empty, we're actually gonna process it. But first, we need to do something else that I totally forgot about, so sorry for that. So we're gonna do if current smelt timer is less than smelt timer, smelt timer. Then we're gonna do current smelt timer plus equals time dot delta time, and then we're gonna do, first let me close the line, we're gonna do else, and we're gonna put this if into our else. So add a bracket right there and one right here at the end. Then we're basically going to say current smelt timer equals 0, and then we're gonna check for this. So at the end we're gonna subtract from it. So we're gonna do smelting slot dot stack size minus minus. Now we're going to actually go ahead and do if data is not equals null. Then we're gonna do storage dot add item and we're gonna add the storage dot slots dot, now we're gonna do smelting slot dot add item. No, we gotta do storage dot add item. Sorry about that, guys. So storage dot add item. Okay, I cannot think straight right now. This is getting annoying, for God's sake. So yeah, smelting slot dot data dot outcome. There we go, and then we're gonna do comma 1. Actually, you know what? We're gonna make it customizable. So go back here, and on your item.so script, we're gonna add a public int, and we're gonna call it outcome amount, and we're gonna set that to be 1 by default. Now we're gonna make it a range so it cannot go below 1. So we're gonna do range, and we're gonna do 1 comma math f dot infinity. So, oh, actually no, you know what? I'm just gonna do at 100. Whatever maximum amount of icon you want to put, it's up to you. This is just for the editor, so we don't make the mistake of having it go like be like 0 outcome and then getting boxed with it. So over here we're gonna do again smelting slot. Okay, smelting slot, not timer. Smelting slot dot data dot outcome amount. And there we go. That's done. Now we're going to have to go back to our, I believe, fairness. No. Let me just make sure that all of this is good. Well, there is one issue with one of the brackets. That's a sure thing. So let me just make sure that all my brackets are good, because turn off, turn on. Alright, you guys probably don't have this issue, but I'm having it, which means there's a missing bracket somewhere. I'm gonna find it and fix it. Okay, so the bracket I'm missing, it's right over here. So I'm gonna put it. If you guys are having the same issue, go ahead and do it. Alright, now that this is done, it's pretty simple what we gotta do. We just gotta do some tweaks to our storage script. So on update, I believe we're gonna add a update function. So we're gonna do update. We're gonna do if stack size, not storage, never mind. We don't need this. That's supposed to go on the storage slot script. So let's go back up and we're gonna add a new header. We're gonna call it furnace config. We're gonna do public bool, not public bool, sorry, public game object furnace UI. No, actually, public bool is furnace. But now we're going to hide this bool because we're not gonna set it manually. So we're gonna do hiding inspector. And on start, we're gonna check if, actually no, we're gonna do is furnace equals get component furnace is not equals null. So there we go. We have that one going. Now let's go back to Unity and make sure that we're not getting any compile errors. So yeah, it looks fine. Now we gotta make the Twixtor UI. So let's look up storage UI. There we go. And now update if open blah 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 open. Okay. So we get the storage open. There it is. And now over here on update, we're going to be doing slot that equals slots blah blah open equals true. So we're gonna copy this from our open function because we're gonna need it. And then we're gonna do if storage open dot is furnace. We're going to first keep updating our objects constantly, but we're gonna do this on storage open. So now the update, actually copy this again, do as I said, and wherever it says storage, fix it, change it for storage opened. And this for, we're going to do one more thing. If storage open dot get component furnace dot is on, we're going to go ahead and first of all we're going to run this. Second of all, we're going to update our UI, which we're gonna make the variables for in a moment. Now the way we're gonna do it, you won't be able to move anything around once your furnace is on. The reason for this, I'm trying to make this system as simple as possible for everyone. I do have, my game system does has the ability to smelt and switch items in and out. It's not that hard to do, but it takes some extra coding, and again, I like to make these tutorials as simple as possible. It's supposed to be tutorials for you guys to learn how to make things until you guys are able to do it on your own. So my point is, I'm trying to make this as simple and understandable as possible, so you guys are not just copying code straight up, but you guys are actually learning how to code. So now let's go back here, over here to the variables, and we're gonna do header, and we're gonna call this furnace UI. And over here we're gonna make one public game object, and we're gonna call it UI. And we're gonna make two more public game object, turn on button, and then we're gonna call another one which is gonna be the turn up button. Now what this is going to do is we're gonna make a function two functions actually. So one's gonna be public void turn off furnace, then the other one's gonna be turn on furnace. Now we got this ready, let's actually code them. So turn on furnace, pretty simple. We're basically going to say, first of all, we're going to check if storage opened is not equals null. If it is, if storage open equals null, we're just going to straight up return. Now let's add the same thing to the other function. And then down here, all we're going to do is storage opened dot get component furnace dot turn on. Now same thing for the other one, but instead of turn on, we're going to do turn off. So I'm just going to copy it up here, paste it, and do turn off. Now the reason we're not checking whether it's got a furnace or not, whether it is a furnace, is because the only reason we're going to be seeing the buttons that execute these two functions is if it's a furnace. So that's why we're not actually checking for it. So if storage that is furnace, I'm going to close this if. Now over here, we're going to do UI.setActive. Actually, I'm going to name it furnace UI, the game object. This one up here, we're going to name it furnace UI. So let's go ahead and do the same thing down here, furnace UI dot set active true. And then we're gonna do if furnace actually no, if storage opened dot get component furnace dot is on, then we're gonna set active the turn off button. So we're gonna do turn off button dot set active true, and we're going to set the other one to be false, so it's deactivated. Alright, there we go. Now same thing for the turn on button, but deactivated. So turn on button dot set active true. False, sorry. Now we're just gonna copy this too, and then we're gonna do else. So if it's not on, then we're gonna see the turn on and turn off button, but the opposite way. So we're gonna do false, and then the one on the bottom is gonna be true. It's pretty simple. Now if storage is open, so this last if, we're gonna do else, and on the else, all we're going to do is furnace UI dot set active false. It's pretty simple. Now next thing we're going to do is pretty much just fix our UI, make sure this works, and that way we can actually finish it, because that's pretty much it, all we have to do, to be honest. Let me just make sure again. We're gonna go to our furnace script because I want to check something. Okay, so on our furnace script, we're going to have to do a couple of things. On the turn off, so turn off is the one that we need. We're gonna set all our slots, so fuel slot dot data equals null, and smelt slot dot data equals null. No, not that data, just the smelt slot. Smelting slot equals null. Okay, equals null, and the fuel slot equals null. Not the data, forget about the data, we don't need that. We're just doing this for the slot, so it has to find it again. So let's go ahead and get back to Unity. Now one more thing I want to tell you guys, if you're using a model, make sure you add collision to that model. So in this case, I already created a cube. You know, it has the same shape and everything. But if you're using a model, just make sure to add the collider and like size set to whatever it's got to be. That way you're not getting an error. Now we're gonna need to make a couple more things. First one's gonna be, we're going to add the B effect, which we already have on standard assets. If you guys downloaded the standard assets on the map creation tutorial, then you should have it. Otherwise, go over to Window, Package Manager, and just look up the Unity standard assets on Unity registry. So just do standard, actually not Unity registry, it should be on my assets. So standard, just wait for it to refresh. And there it is, the 2018 standard assets, which comes with trees, rocks, a bunch of things. It's pretty cool, and it also comes with fire effects, which we are going to need for this. Now, what we're gonna do now is fix our UI, so add the necessary things to it. Add the necessary things to the furnace, which is pretty much the fire effect. And then we're going to make one more change, which is going to be to our slot, so our storage slot script right here. So this script is going to need to get one more change, and it's going to be pretty simple. So let's go ahead and get started. First, we're going to need to go ahead and find our player. So we got it right here. And we're going to go to Canvas, all menus. I believe it would be storage, this one right here. Double click on it, and then our storage is being basically shown by our crafting menu. So let's go ahead and deactivate the crafting menu for now, and we're gonna add a couple of slots just to get a feel for it. So I'm gonna add the slots, you don't have to do that. So that's usually my storage size. It's, I believe, 12. Let me just make sure that's the amount. So let me go ahead and hit play and check that, because I'm pretty sure that it should be 12. I just want to make sure. Okay, well, let me just reactivate my crafting. That's why I said just for now. Basically because deactivating one of the components can mess your entire system up. That's the simple answer. So I'm just gonna pick up one of the boxes, and I'm going to go ahead, place it down. Also, you can do a buildable for your furnace, so you can actually build on it. Alright, so this is my box pretty much. If I go over here and try to open this, yep, there we go. Now what's gonna happen with the furnace is we're just gonna have these 3 slots, or well, actually you can have as many slots as you want. Just, you know, I'm just gonna do like three slots or like 6 slots for personal preference. Pretty much that's how I like to make furnaces. And then we're gonna just put wood and all of that stuff in there. So as I'm doing my slots only be 3, I'm going to select all of this except the last 6 slots, just to get a feel for the size of it. How is it going to be sized? Now I'm doing this in camera. You guys can just go ahead and skip, because all I'm doing here is pretty much UI design. It's not actually code, so it's not that important, although you should watch the setup. Okay, so okay, there we go. 6 slots, that's what I'm going to be using. Now I'm going to create inside storage, create an empty and call it furnace UI. Then inside this empty, we're going to do UI, and we're going to create a button, which is going to be turn on. Now we're going to duplicate it, and this is going to be the off button. I'm just going to do the setup real quick so you guys can just do your UI on yourself and just skip through this whole part. So for both the turn on and turn off button, we're gonna select them both. We're gonna click the plus, and we're gonna add the storage. Then for the turn off, we're gonna do storage UI. Turn off furnace, same thing for the turn on. We're gonna do storage UI. Turn on furnace. And now we go to our storage and we're gonna assign them. So we're gonna assign a furnace UI that's gonna contain both of those. We're gonna assign our turn on button and our turn off button. And that's pretty much it. That's gonna be the whole setup that we need. Now for the sake of keeping this short as possible, the video, I'm just gonna pause the video right here, do my whole UI design, and then I'll get back with you guys. And if you want, you can take a look at my UI design and just make it exactly as I did. It's up to you. So I'll see you guys in a moment. Alright guys, so I'm pretty much done with my UI design. As you can see, I have my button right here. Now we're gonna do one more thing. So go into your furnace UI and create an empty, call it turn on off button. Now the reason we're doing this is because we're gonna add a blocker, so when this furnace is on, we cannot go through any of this. We can just turn it off. That way it doesn't get bugged. So I'm gonna duplicate my turn on button again, and I'm just gonna rename it to turn off. There we go. Same thing, the text, instead of turn on, I'm gonna name it turn off. And now we're gonna add one more thing. Inside turn off button, not the actual button but the empty we created, we're gonna create a UI image and we're gonna create a UI text. Now I'll show you guys why in a moment. So the image, I'm gonna bring it to the same X as the turn on and off button. So let's go ahead and do that. Now we got it right here. Select the image and we're gonna make it be the size of our actual slots, so it covers them all. So I'm gonna do it like that. Make sure you're not covering your button, otherwise you won't be able to click on it. And then I'm gonna make it dark, but I'm just gonna make it a little bit, pretty much a little bit transparent. This is also UI design, so you don't have to make it transparent, but I recommend you do. And then I'm just gonna center it as best as possible. Now our text, we're gonna bring it down here, and we're going to put in it turn off the furnace to move items. I'm gonna make it wider and taller, and then I'm gonna center it, so click both of these in the center, and I'm gonna make it all white and bold. Then for the font size, I'm gonna give it a 20 font size. Yep, there we go, that's perfect. And now what we can do first, the image that we did, I'm gonna name it as drag drop blocker. And now we're gonna go back to our storage, and where it says turn off button, we're gonna drag the empty, not the actual button. So that's it. And now by default, just deactivate your furnace UI by default, and I'm gonna delete these slots. So our UI is pretty much done. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select my furnace, and as I'm planning on just doing 6 slots, I'm gonna put the storage size to be 6. I'm gonna save it, and we're going to go ahead and hit play, make sure that it works. So I'm gonna build my box, I'm gonna place my box down. Okay, I need to reactivate my crafting menu. So let's go ahead and do that really quick. There we go. Save it and hit play. Alright, so let's go ahead and place the box down, make sure that it works as intended. Just gonna place it down here. So when I open the storage box, you can see I'm not getting any of the furnace UI. But if I do this, I am getting the furnace UI. So if I do turn on, I need to assign the actual values to it, and we need to assign the visual effect to the furnace, which we're going to do in a moment. That's why we're getting an error. So let's go ahead and get all of that done. So for the visual effect of the furnace, what are we going to be using? So as I said before, import the Unity standard assets if you haven't, but most likely if you follow the making the map tutorial, you most likely have it. So first of all, we're going to search up in here in project fire, and we're going to get a couple of fire objects. So I'm just going to click on one of them and drag it into here. Sorry guys, had to pause the video for a moment. So as I was saying, now that we got this, I'm going to select fire complex. This is the one I'm going to use, and I'm going to drag it into my furnace. Then I'm going to position it to the center, so 0, 0, 0. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on top, as I'm not using the model. You guys should have the model if you downloaded it. And I'm just going to select the actual objects to just see how it looks. So that's how the fire looks. If you want to like resize it or anything, that's up to you. You know, like I'm going to put it like that. Now select your furnace and drag fire complex onto the B effect game object. So right here, B effect, fire complex. There we go. So save it, and we're gonna go ahead and hit play. Now, if we open it, it says turn on. For some reason, we're getting a null ref. No, we're not, which is weird. Okay, so that's off, that's on, turn off. Okay, yeah, we need to update that. So by default, so it's not getting updated constantly. So by default, just disable your visual effect. So I'm gonna disable the fire by default. I'm gonna hit save. And now we're gonna set up our objects. So, or wood. So I'm gonna go into assets, items, and we're gonna go to resources. I'm gonna do wood and go all the way down. It is fuel, and the process time is gonna be 3. Now I'm gonna duplicate the metal ore one, and I'm gonna rename it to metal. Name metal. And this one, again, just gonna. Oh, what I'm gonna do in a moment is just unload a couple of things. Metal, and I'm gonna do the description be processed metal, useful for making guns and tools. There we go. Now we got this. Let's go back to our items, and on resources, we're gonna do a metal ore. The outcome is going to be metal, and for every metal ore, we're gonna get 2 metal, and the process time is gonna be like, let's do it 5, just so we waste more wood. So now I'm gonna activate my spawners, and I'm gonna hit play, and let's see what happens when we put that in. So our wood is already fuel. Okay, we need to fix that. So most likely what's going on with the rocks is that it's too big for the system to work. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is, okay, I'm gonna need to restart just because of that. So yeah, we need to increase the check sphere for it. So we'll do that later. I'm just gonna grab a couple of things from here. And don't worry, we'll be making a polishing video, as I said, of adding UI for pickup and that kind of stuff. I'm just gonna put this in here in case I see any bears. And I'm just gonna grab this. There we go. Now let's collect some wood so that we can actually go ahead and do everything. So we got 30 wood, which is a pretty good number. Okay, sorry guys, I had to make a quick pause. But actually, as you know, it's already turning night, so let's gather quickly. Alright, so I'm just gonna get some metal ore, got some wood. Now I'm gonna go over to my furnace, just put the wood in, put the metal ore, and then turn it on. Which, I don't know why it's not working, which it should be. Alright, so let's go ahead and fix that. Also, you can already see like all the systems coming at play. So you know, like we got a furnace where we're smelting, you know, so we can make metal and make weapons. I don't have the recipes made, you know, this is a tutorial. But you know, like it's turning night, we should have a base down, we should have things like that. You could also use, okay, turned on. What the hell? Okay, it's bugged like 100%. So there is a bug, it's bugged, but you know, like it's sort of working. I don't know what's going on. Okay, that's crashing like my entire PC. But you can see like how everything is slowly like coming together and forming an actual full game. Now I'm gonna go ahead and see what's going on with the furnace. I'm gonna fix it and then show you guys how to do it, not to make so the video doesn't get any longer. So let's go ahead. Hey guys, so I was just editing the video and I realized that it's going to be an hour and 43 minutes long if I do the entire tutorial. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it into two parts so that it's not that long. This first part is going to be an hour long and the other one should be like 40 minutes. Don't worry, I will either upload the next part today or tomorrow, so it's not going to be that many days apart. And also, as I said on the previous video that you guys watched, if you watch the most recent one today, I'm gonna be doing the videos shorter, so it's not so tedious to go through them. So don't worry about that. From now, for the next couple videos, they're gonna be shorter, so it's easier for you guys to watch. Now, I'm gonna leave it up to here, and as always, if you like the video, hit the like button, consider subscribing, and leave a comment down below. It helps a lot.